Now, you may not have seen inside of one of these yet, so let me give you a look around at what you can expect in here in the 2024 Kona. First thing to point out, camera guy James, and you probably noticed this too, let's take a look at this dashboard. I'm going to put my hand all the way up here to the windshield. Now see how thin this dashboard is, right? It only comes to kind of the center of my forearm. It's a slimmer dashboard. It gives you the sensation of the dashboard being further away. That has a way of sort of opening up the feel of the cabin. You can really see that leading legroom measurement here.
The new Subaru Crosstrek looks great, and it's one of my favorite affordable SUVs for tackling the back roads of Northern Ontario. But what about that new Hyundai Kona with the more dynamic looks and punchier turbo engine? And where are these machines the most similar, the furthest apart? What does the Kona's turbo engine do to your gas bill, and which other engine in this lineup gives you 30 free horsepower for your gas dollars? Well, I've been crunching the numbers, and here's my exclusive report. The 2024 Subaru Crosstrek and Hyundai Kona are both compact SUVs with similar dimensions, but some notable differences. The Subaru Crosstrek is longer by 5.1 inches or 130 millimeters, approximately 3% longer than the Kona. The Crosstrek is also slightly narrower with a difference of 1 inch or 25 millimeters. That's about 1.4% narrower than the Kona. In terms of height, the Crosstrek stands 0.6 of an inch or 15 millimeters taller, a roughly 1% advantage in height versus the Kona. And the wheelbase of the Crosstrek is longer by just 0.4 of an inch or 10 millimeters. That's less than 0.5%. So to summarize, this pair is very close in size, with the Crosstrek being just a little larger, especially when it comes to length. Question is, how does all of that affect cargo space? And will the Crosstrek maintain its lead in those dimensions? With all seats in use, the Crosstrek provides 19.9 cubic feet, or 563 liters of cargo space if you like, versus 25.5 cubic feet for the Kona, that's 722 liters. And with the rear seats folded, it's 54.7 cubic feet, or 1,549 liters of space in the Crosstrek, versus 63.7 cubic feet, or 1,802 liters for the Kona. Translation, for your dollars, the Kona is giving you about 22% more cargo volume than the Crosstrek with your seats flipped up, and 14% more cargo volume than the Crosstrek with them folded down.
Standard autopilot loadout here. My camera bag, camera guy James's tripod bag, camera guy James's camera bag back there. And a place to put your... So I was walking the dog the other day and picked up his mess, as one does, and forgot to take it out. So if you're a dog owner like me, you've got a handy spot there for anything you want to take with you away from your walk at the park.
A place to put your...
We'll just bleep it, whatever. So cargo cover snapping out if we like. Just give that a little whack under here. That's going to come right up and out of your way. Take this right off. Just for a little look. Opens us up like that. But important to note there, we can actually fold that seat down without having to move the forward seats up. And that's a handy touch, because if you're driving something like a Mazda CX-30, remember we had to actually move the front seats up to fold the back seats down. So nice touch there. No power tailgate here, absolutely fine. You do not need it. Nice good action of those hydraulic struts there. Decent amount of room for our standard kit. I should point one thing out here. There were these cubbies. Did you see them?
No.
We got these little cubbies down here, and I wonder... Well, it's not going to hold it securely, but maybe that's what those are for. I guess we'll have to check the owner's manual, but that's not really my style.
We know that despite being very similar in most measurements, the Hyundai Kona actually turns in a notable cargo space advantage versus the Crosstrek. But how roomy is that interior, and how do the two stack up when it comes to passenger space? So on front and rear headroom, it's effectively a tie for both models, with just small fractions of an inch separating the two on these measurements. In fact, there's no more than 6 millimeters separating the pair on front and rear headroom, and that's about the width of 3 nickels stacked on top of each other, by the way. The Crosstrek does provide 1.2 inches more front legroom than the Kona, an advantage of just about 3% when it comes to that measure. So if you're a leggier sort of person, the Crosstrek should provide a little more room to sit comfortably. Rear legroom is where these two models are the furthest apart when it comes to passenger measurements. In the Kona, rear seat legroom of 38.2 inches or 970 millimeters is the better part of 2 inches or about 50 millimeters more than the rear seat legroom in the Crosstrek. So while there's no advantage in headroom to be had, the Crosstrek takes top place for front legroom by a slim margin here, and the Kona takes top place for rear legroom by a much larger margin. So combined with superior cargo capacity, that means that the Kona might just be the easier vehicle of the two for a family to grow into. But what will these machines do to your gas bill? Standard Subaru Crosstrek models run a 2-liter flat-4 boxer engine with 152 horsepower and 145 pounds of torque, and the up-level engine is a 2.5-liter unit with 182 horsepower and 178 pounds of torque. It's very important for shoppers to understand that both engines available in the Crosstrek use almost exactly the same amount of fuel, and that's despite the bigger unit making 30 more horsepower. So for maximum bang for your fuel buck, go with the 2.5-liter engine in the Crosstrek if you can. It gives you 30 more horsepower for virtually no increase in fuel costs. Literally, the penalty for the extra 30 horsepower works out to less than $2 a month at the pumps. So with either engine in the Subaru Crosstrek, you can expect to use about 8.6 liters of gas for every 100 kilometers you drive. And actually, that's a tie with the Hyundai Kona's base engine, a 2-liter 4-cylinder with 147 horsepower and 132 pounds of torque. So with both engines in the Crosstrek and the Hyundai Kona's base engine achieving roughly the same fuel efficiency, you can expect a roughly $3,200 gas bill in either of those machines, assuming that you drive 25,000 kilometers a year and pay $1.50 for a liter of gas. But what about that 1.6-liter turbo engine in the Kona? Well, going that route increases fuel consumption. Now, you'll need 9.1 liters of gas to drive 100 kilometers, versus 8.6 with either Crosstrek engine or the Kona's base engine. So it'll be a $3,200 per year fuel bill to run any of the non-turbo engines in this list. And if you go with the 1.6-liter turbo in the Kona for that increased low-rev punch and low-speed throttle response, you can expect the fuel bill to increase to $3,412, meaning that running the punchier turbo engine will cost you an additional $225 per year, or less than $20 a month on gas.
So every time I've driven a Crosstrek prior to this, it's really great for the do-it-yourself oil change guys and gals because the oil filter's always been right up on the top, super easily accessible. And I'm curious to see if that's still the case here. If you've driven one of these before, owned one, you definitely know what I'm talking about. Are you going to be able to change your oil filter really easily on this? Let's have a look. Aha! It's still right there, which means it's going to be a little bit easier to save yourself a couple of bucks and change your oil on your own if you like.
So which one would I spend my own money on? For me, it's the Crosstrek by a very slim margin. I would miss the all-digital instrumentation in the Kona, as well as numerous handy features and touches throughout its interior relating to storage and charging. But I like the Crosstrek just a touch better for a few reasons that you can't really see at a glance. For instance, I find its lighting system inspires more confidence after dark, thanks in no small part to bright light and steerable projectors. And I find the brake pedal feel for emergency stops to be more confidence-inspiring, ditto the handling and steering response. Still, the big reason the Crosstrek wins me over is actually just how well it drives on the very rough and bumpy roads common where I live, not to mention our winter driving. Ultimately, it's always nice to have choices, and these are two very good ones.